Hey everyone, welcome to our first Valentine's Day Nail Art collaboration featuring me, Sarah from Sarah's Nail Secrets,
and me, Talia from Talia's Nail Tales. Our Christmas series was so much fun, we wanted to try another holiday as well.
We'll be spacing the series out a little different, so it'll last until Valentine's Day. So let's get started.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone, and welcome to the very last video in our Valentine's Day series. You guys will have to let us know how you liked this series. We won't be able to do an Easter one because babies do around then, but maybe we can do like a Halloween one or something with the coming months. So anyway, today for day 5, our theme was floral. So initially, this is the design that my mom and I came up with. When my mom left, I wasn't overly pleased with it. I wasn't overly in love with it. So she ended up texting me a few days later and asked me if I could change up her pointer nail. I agreed because I thought it would look a little bit more cohesive and make a little bit more sense and definitely be a little bit more floral themed. So we'll get into the design. I'm going to show you both of them, both of the pointer fingers. So you're going to get a whole bunch of different ideas for accent nails, as well as a whole bunch of different ways to marble. Let's get started. So for starters, my mom was still wearing her Christmas design. So I did want to show you guys that the techniques that I showed you in that video kept the Swarovski crystal pixies on for the most part, except the really small sides or whatever. There wasn't enough of the ugly duckling stick-it. And then the chrome technique that I shared with you guys definitely made the chrome last a little bit longer too. So if you want to know how to keep Swarovski crystal pixies on as well as chrome, definitely make sure you check out the video for this nail design. I also wanted to share with you how I got the Swarovski crystal pixies off. They were super easy to remove with just some nail clippers or some cuticle nippers. The ugly duckling stick-it is a little bit gummy once it cures, so I found it insanely easy to remove the pixies as well as any crystals that I've tried, but it also keeps the crystals or pixies on very well too. So anyway, let's get started with today's design. I just wanted to update you guys on my mom's previous design. Oh, my poor mom had to go so long. We owe the color palette to this design as well as like the floral cluster inspiration to my mom. She wanted something that was mostly black and white with a little bit of accents of red. I don't think I delivered that because the majority of it is actually red, but the inspiration came from these little plastic 3D flowers. I also have an organizational series planned, and you guys will see how I organized all these 3D in the coming weeks here, thanks to one of my nail tech buddies. The red that we decided to use is called Hot Toddy. This came out in a Christmas collection a few years ago, I believe. And I really liked how deep and rich this red was. And in all honesty, I don't think that I've actually used this color on a client before. So I wanted to make sure that I was incorporating it into this design. I'm going to put this all over her middle finger as well as her pointer finger. When I use a color like this that has a little bit of a swirly, pearly finish to it, I prefer to make it look really nice and even versus like the swirly type of look. So I'm going to apply this all over the nail, cure it, then I'm going to go in with a super thin coat and just kind of even it out a little bit. The black that I'm going to be using in this design is Black Tie from Light Elegance. It's just a really rich pigmented black. There's no pearl, no sparkle to it. I'm going to apply this all over her ring finger, and this is going to be a crystal cluster nail. My mom wanted some marble stone accent nails, and when I do marble stone accent nails, I like to use kind of a pearly white. We're going to use Fusion's Walk the Stage, which is a little bit brighter than White Swimsuit. I've said it multiple times. I'm actually scraping the bottom of this container. That's how much I've been using it and loving this actual color. So I'm going to apply this all over the nails. Then I'm going to go in with some other different colors to kind of give it the marble stone effect. So we're going to take some of the Black Tie. We're also going to take some of Fusion's Rum Butter, which is a discontinued color, sadly, because it is a beautiful, beautiful gold. Fusion's winter collection had colors that were kind of like a similar pearl finish to them. They just weren't this exact shade of gold, but they would definitely work if you were going to do something like this. Anyway, I'm going to take a striping brush and we are just going to apply some of the black and the rum butter all over the nails. I will be the first to say that I didn't love how this particular marbling design turned out, and I wanted it to be a little bit more runny. So I'm going to take some of Ugly Duckling Schmelt It in Clear, and I'm just going to run that all over the nail design here while everything is still wet, and I was hoping this would make it kind of bleed a little bit more. Again, I wasn't overly in love with this specific technique. I'm going to show you guys another one on a different nail. There are so many different ways to do marble stone looking nails, but I kind of wanted it to be less pigmented than the way that this particular nail turned out. So when we move on to a different nail, I'm going to show you how to make it look a little bit less pigmented. I swear I try something new every single time I try and do marble stone nails though, and I still have yet to find a technique that I absolutely love more than anything else. On the pinky nail, on her other hand, I decided to do some of the Schmelt It first, a super thin coat, and then go in over top with the white and the rum butter and see just kind of what kind of marbling techniques I could do with this. I did find though that having the Schmelt It down as the base, it was way easier to over marble, just making it kind of look messy. Plus the Schmelt It is very liquidy, so I did find that it was running into the cuticles and the sidewalls. When I do the exact same technique on her thumb, I decided to keep the Schmelt It away from the cuticles and the sidewalls. This technique seemed to work a little bit better, so when I go in with my black lines as well, I decided that I was going to save the gold until the very end because I didn't want the gold kind of marbled in. I wanted that to really stand out. So I'm going to take the brush and just do the marbling with the black, and I'm also going to use my brush as well as a dotting tool to kind of get the lines to go where I wanted to. I did like how it bled, but in all honesty, the one nail, the thumb on her other hand that I don't actually show you guys, probably turned out to be my favorite. I find with any sort of marbling technique that one, I always seem to have a favorite nail and I could never tell you guys how I actually did it unless I filmed it. And two, do not judge your marbling until you get your gel layer over top. A lot of times that'll smooth out any of the imperfections and it'll look a lot better. Our last step is to embed all of these nail designs. You'll also notice that on her pinkies, they're a little bit chunky because of how I did the marbling technique. We will finish that all with finish filing, which is another reason why I like to embed. I'm going to show you guys the sugaring technique that we used that I really liked on her pointer finger. I just felt like it was just didn't kind of look cohesive with the entire design. So we're going to go in and put our tackless top coat on, cure it. Then I decided that we were going to stamp some black and white hearts because I cannot hand paint hearts very well, and I thought this would give me a really nice outline for the sugar as well as a really nice background for the sugar to be applied to. Now I'm going in with some of the tackless top coat and I am just surrounding and outlining and filling in those hearts. And once I have the top gloss exactly where I want it, I'm going to take some of the Light Elegance's sugar powders. I'm going to do the white one and the black one, and I'm just going to pour it all over top of the white heart, cure it, then we're going to brush it off. We're going to do the exact same thing with the black heart too. I do just want to clarify that I really liked how this turned out. Like, I absolutely loved this specific nail, and the reason that I wanted to include it in the design is because I felt like there wasn't enough like actual Valentine's Day embellishments on this design. But when we were done looking at the nails as a whole, I just felt like it was too much. It kind of took away from the rest of the floral accents that were the whole entire design of this nail. So even though it turned out really cool, I'm really glad we ended up switching up this nail. I wanted to leave this footage in though so you guys could have an idea of how to do a different sort of accent nail for Valentine's Day. For the stamping, we decided to try like a half and half nail on her middle finger originally. We ended up taking this off because we didn't like it. And then on the black nails, we decided that we were going to do floral accents instead and move the crystal embellishment to the middle finger. So the colors that I'm using, I decided to use the new rosy plate from Clear Jelly Stamper. We wanted to make sure that we were tying in some of the red and gold and whites from the other nails, and I feel like you need to include some greenery when you're doing some floral accents. On her middle finger, we decided this is where we were going to put the 3D embellishments. So if you're using plastic 3D embellishments, you can definitely get away with using a nail resin. If you're using something that's metal, I would recommend either using acrylic or the Ugly Duckling Stick It, not the resin. I just find that it doesn't stick as well, even if you do surround it with gel. That's just been my experience with working with 3D embellishments. I'm also going to include a bunch of crystals in here, and we're going to do it kind of like a cascading crystal design. And this was like the main focus for the floral design of this nail, and then we ended up throwing in some other embellishments in design as well, but I really liked how this one turned out. The nice thing about these specific little floral 3D embellishments is that they're not too big. They're really not much more higher than a Swarovski crystal. I did want to throw some red accents on the marbled stone nails, so all we're doing is throwing in some red crystals that are called light Siam, I believe. They match the red hot toddy color really, really well. Because her thumbnail is a little bit of a bigger palette, I'm going to do a little bit of a bigger crystal cluster. Again, we're going to use some of that red Siam Swarovski crystals, but I'm also going to throw in some of the gold. Now the gold is either light silk or light topaz. They're all mixed in one, sadly, so I'm not entirely sure which ones got thrown onto this nail. Our last step is to top gloss the entire nail design. I'm using my NSI Glaze and Go because it seals over top of stamping really, really nicely. The more I use this top gloss, the more I'm really liking it. This is how version 1 turned out. I do like that the hearts are included just so it looks a little bit more Valentine's Day-ish. However, I do feel like it's a little bit overwhelming and a little bit too much. So I'm glad that my mom asked to switch the pointer nail up because the next design definitely makes it look a little bit more cohesive. Something happens to me when I'm pregnant. The exact same thing happened with Rose. I have all these ideas but don't know how to put them together to make it look as cohesive as I usually do. It's happened on a couple of my clients in the last little bit. So let's jump to fixing this nail now. So I don't want to take this nail down completely. All I want to do is remove the sugar nails that we did on top. So I'm just taking a sanding band and I'm lightly buffing over top of it. My E-file is not turned up very high at all. You'll see there that I did take off some of the red color. Don't worry, we're going to cover that up with some stamping. So if you do make a mistake doing this, cover it up with some stamping or some Swarovski crystals. On that same rose plate, there's a really nice leafy type of image. I decided to stamp that down first because my mom likes the idea of the leaves looking as like the background and then the flowers kind of sitting on top of it. You can't do this every time. It just depends how pigmented your stamping polishes are. There's some that I've used and tried to do this exact same technique and the leaves just kind of show through on top of the flowers. But because we're using super highly pigmented black, whites, and gold, this works really, really well. Because the nail is red, I want to make sure that the flowers on this nail are going to be black, white, and gold and outlined as such as well. Then again, we're just going to seal over top with our NSI Glaze and Go, which works really, really well for sealing over top of stamping. I find I don't typically have to do 2 coats when I use this particular top gloss. And this is our finished completed design that my mom is currently walking around with. I'm really glad that we did switch up that pointer nail and made it look a little bit more cohesive with the different floral accents. The nice thing about this particular design is you could definitely wear it any time of year. It doesn't have to be directly Valentine's Day related. Make sure you head on over to Sarah's channel and see what she did for our floral theme. I love all the green on this. I don't know what's wrong with me with loving green so much lately. Make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. Thank you so much for keeping up with our Valentine's Day series. Hopefully we can do this again down the road. And stay tuned for some fun organization videos. I think you guys are going to get a kick out of that as well.